I'm going to talk about The Italian, the 1915 silent movie that you just saw or that you are about to see. And a few considerations to help you read this movie correctly. One very basic one, it's a silent movie, which means that what we hear now is a score that has been added afterwards. In those days, movie theaters had a piano with a live pianist that accompanied the scenes and the action that took place on the screen. So whether it was fast or slow, happy, celebratory, tragic, whatever, the pianist would match the mood on the screen with a tune. There was no score. Second, let's not forget that this movie was made 100 years ago, and that the understanding that people had about reality, human conducts, and so forth were obviously very different than what we know now. Also, the movie experience was extremely, extremely rare and exceptional for them. For us, well, I don't need to tell you what it is like, but moving images were a rarity, and it really conveyed a different type of experience than it does for us. Number 3 is something that we learned recently in the course, namely the basic theories of criminology by Cesare Lombroso. The fundamental principle of this theory is that people are born criminals, or let's put it the other way. Criminals are born that way, and that criminal intent or a criminal mind is simply waiting for an opportunity to manifest itself. So people do not, this is the understanding that people brought to the reality around themselves, and also the understanding that people bring to this very movie. Let's keep this in mind when we follow the evolution of Beppo's character throughout the tragic events of the film. There are a couple of other factors, more along the lines of critical interpretation. The very first scene of the movie shows us a wealthy man dressed in a smoking jacket, smoking a pipe, in a very rich house, beautifully furnished, solid, bourgeois. He's in a moment of leisure. He picks up a book. The book is attributed to Thomas Ince. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's spelled I-N-C-E, that I found out was a famous Hollywood producer in those days. Could be the producer of this film. I didn't pay attention to the credits. And the book is called The Italian. So here we have first the narrator, the implicit narrator in the film, is aspirational. The audience sees this person living in this beautiful house, rich, expensive, beautiful house, and identifies with his point of view and his perspective. They want to be like him. He is an ideal. He is a model. Very much like when we go to the movies and we see rich people living in fabulous villas with a splendid view and a swimming pool, or gorgeous loft in Manhattan, in Soho. Those represent our aspirations, stuff that we cannot afford. And he is the conduit. He is the channel through which we are approaching the narration of this story. The second one is what we call meta-narrative. Not only is he going to tell us the story, but he is going to tell us through a book, that he reads. So the story is narrated to him in book form, and then he's narrating it to us in visual form. So in a way, it's like saying he is visualizing what we are seeing in the movie. And that creates a second filter that establishes the premises and the conditions under which the audience in those days will watch this movie. We are accustomed to these kind of tricks, so we don't buy into this kind of stuff anymore, at least not consciously. But back in those days, those kind of techniques were extremely powerful, had never been adopted before, were presented for the first time, and grabbed the attention of the audience beyond what they can do today for us. So these are three or four basic factors to remember in reading the movie.